A string of bizarre coincidences so creepy, no one's been able to explain them, even now. Number 8. King Umberto and the man who looked exactly like him. A king walks into a restaurant and sees himself cooking in the kitchen. No, this isn't a joke. Not a hallucination either. Just the beginning of one of the strangest coincidence stories ever told. It was late July, 1900. King Umberto I of Italy stopped by a small restaurant in Monza for lunch. When the restaurant owner came out to serve him, the whole room practically froze. The man looked exactly like the king. Same height, same face, same hairstyle, even the same way he walked, like someone hit copy and paste, but on a human being. But the real kicker came when they started talking. They were both born on the same day, in the same year, in the same town. Both were named Umberto. Both were married to women named Margherita. And they both had sons named Vittorio. At this point, it stopped being coincidence and started feeling like some kind of glitch in the Matrix. Intrigued, and probably just as weirded out as you are right now, the king decided to throw a small dinner party to celebrate this bizarre meeting. Naturally, he invited his lookalike as the guest of honor. But then, things took a dark turn. On July 29th, just before the dinner, the restaurant owner, King Umberto's mysterious twin, was suddenly shot and killed in an unexplained incident. That same evening, as the king was attending the dinner party, he received the news of the man's death, and just a few hours later, King Umberto himself was assassinated by an anarchist in the crowd. 2 men, identical faces, identical lives, both killed, by gunfire, on the same day. So, was it all just a chain of impossible coincidences? Or are we looking at some kind of blueprint the universe forgot to explain? If you enjoyed this video, don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button. Every new subscriber gives me a huge boost to keep creating more awesome content like this. Number 7. The Jim twins and their bizarrely parallel lives. 2 men, living over 60 miles apart in Ohio. Same name, Jim. Same age, 39. Both had a childhood dog named Toy. Nobody thought much of it, until they finally met. Jim Lewis and Jim Springer were identical twins, separated at just 4 weeks old, and adopted by 2 completely unrelated families. For nearly 4 decades they lived separate lives, totally unaware of each other's existence. That is, until they reunited in 1979. And then, the coincidences started piling up like the universe was playing a prank. Both named their sons James. Both married women named Linda. Then, both got divorced. Then, both remarried. This time to women named Betty. One had a son named James Allan. The other? James Allan, just 1 letter off. They smoked the same brand of cigarettes, drank the same brand of beer, worked the same kind of job, carpentry, drove Chevrolets, and even vacationed at the same beach in Florida, without ever crossing paths. Later on, scientists studied them as part of one of the biggest twin research projects ever conducted. Some similarities might be genetic, sure. But the dogs? The ex-wives? The beach trips? Yeah. Nobody's got a solid explanation for that. 2 twins, raised apart, yet somehow living lives that feel like a copy-paste glitch in reality. And that's just one set of twins. Now imagine how many other Matrix malfunctions might be walking around, completely unnoticed. Number 6. The Eban brothers and 2 identical deaths. A pair of brothers. 2 identical deaths. Same age, same vehicle, same road, same taxi, same driver, and the same passenger sitting in the back seat. Sounds like a dark joke cooked up by an AI that's completely lost its mind, right? Except, it actually happened. In July 1974, in Hamilton, Bermuda, a 17-year-old named Neville Eban was riding his motorbike when he was hit and killed by a taxi. 1 year later, same month, his younger brother, Erskine, also 17, was riding that very same motorbike on the same road when he was hit and killed by the same taxi, same driver, and in the back seat, the exact same passenger who'd been there during the first crash. If you're starting to think, okay, This sounds like a carefully staged murder plot. Well, nope. There was no evidence of foul play, no conspiracy, no one trying to recreate anything. It was just one of those mind-bending chains of coincidences, stacked so perfectly. It's like the universe hit repeat on the weirdest scene possible. The kind of case that makes statisticians stop mid-sentence. And even hardcore skeptics raise an eyebrow. Are we living in a simulation? Or are there invisible rules in this universe we're just not smart enough to figure out yet? Number 5. 3 generations struck by lightning in the exact same spot. Getting struck by lightning is rare. 2 people? That's unusual. But 3 people, all from the same family, with the same name, dying in the exact same spot? Yeah. That's when the laws of probability start to panic. It all started in 1899, in a small town near Toronto. A man named Rolla Primarda was standing in his backyard during a thunderstorm, when lightning struck and killed him. Fast forward nearly 30 years. His son, also named Rolla, was standing in that exact same place when another storm rolled in. Same story. But wait. In 1949, it happened again. The grandson, also named Rolla, stood on that same cursed patch of ground. Boom. Lightning. Gone. 3 generations. Same family. Same name. Same square of Earth. Same cause of death. Now sure, meteorologists might bring up the usual suspects. Terrain shape. Soil conductivity. Nearby materials acting as lightning rods. But none of that explains why 3 men from the same bloodline happen to be standing in the exact same spot, at the exact wrong moment, 3 times in a row. The odds of getting struck by lightning once in your life? Roughly 1 in 15,000. The odds of this exact story playing out? Let's just say, this isn't a rare event. This is a cosmic copy-paste. Number 4. Edgar Allan Poe and the Prophecy of Richard Parker. Edgar Allan Poe once wrote a novel that pretty much everyone ignored. It was chaotic, bizarre, and honestly, kind of disturbing. But one detail in it turned out to be eerily real. In 1838, Poe published the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym. The story features a shipwreck. 4 survivors drifting in a lifeboat. No food, no water. So they decide to draw lots, to see who will make the ultimate sacrifice. The unlucky one? A young sailor named Richard Parker. They kill him and eat him. All of it was fictional. Just a piece of dark, nautical horror. Weird? Sure. But it stayed fiction. Until, 46 years later, it didn't. A yacht called the Mignonette sank in the South Atlantic. 4 men survived. No food, no water. And after drifting for days, 3 of them killed and ate the 4th. The victim's name? Richard Parker. 17 years old. After they were rescued, the survivors went on trial and were convicted of murder. But what really shook people wasn't just the crime itself. It was that Edgar Allan Poe had written almost the exact same story, nearly half a century earlier. Same number of people. Same desperate scenario. Same exact name. There's no sign the sailors had ever read Poe's book. And Poe? He'd already been dead for decades. So, was it just coincidence? Or something stranger than fiction? Number 3. Tsutomu Yamaguchi, the man who survived 2 atomic bombs. Surviving a nuclear blast is already hard to believe. But surviving 2 atomic bombings in the same week? That sounds like something out of a movie. Except, it really happened. In August 1945, Tsutomu Yamaguchi, a 29-year-old engineer, was on a business trip in Hiroshima when he saw a blinding flash in the sky. That flash? It was the first atomic bomb ever used in war. He was thrown to the ground, suffered severe burns. His eardrums ruptured, but somehow, he survived. He spent the night in a shelter. The next day, still bandaged and in shock, he boarded a train back home, to Nagasaki. 3 days later, still recovering from his injuries, Yamaguchi showed up to work. While telling his boss about the nightmare he had just escaped in Hiroshima, another blinding flash lit up the sky outside the window. The second bomb. Nagasaki. Once again, he was just a few kilometers from ground zero. And once again, he lived. Wrong place, wrong time. Twice. And still, he survived. Yamaguchi went on to live another 65 years. He died in 2010 at the age of 93 from stomach cancer. He remains the only person officially recognized by the Japanese government as having survived both atomic bombings. A probability you can't repeat. And a story no one ever wants to live through. Number 2. The assassination of Archduke Ferdinand and the wrong turn that changed the world. A failed assassination. A would-be shooter who gave up and went to grab lunch. And one random wrong turn that ended up starting a global war. Sounds like dark historical satire. But that's how World War I began. On June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, visited Sarajevo with his wife. A group of Serbian nationalists had planned to kill him. One of them threw a bomb at the motorcade, but missed. It exploded under a car behind the Archduke's, injuring a few people. Franz, completely unharmed. He shrugged it off, gave a speech at City Hall, and went on with his day. Gavrilo Princip, just 19 years old, was one of the key conspirators. After watching the attack fail, he assumed it was over, and wandered off to grab a sandwich from a bakery nearby. And then, fate stepped in. After the ceremony, Franz unexpectedly decided to visit the men who had been injured in the blast. But the driver didn't know the updated route. He made a wrong turn, right onto the street where Princip happened to be standing. Realizing the mistake, the driver tried to reverse. But the car stalled. Right in front of the bakery, and right in front of Gavrilo Princip. He pulled out his gun. 2 shots. Franz and his wife were killed instantly. One absurd coincidence. 2 bullets. And the world changed forever. World War I began, because of a failed bombing, a bakery lunch break, and a single wrong turn. History doesn't always follow logic. Sometimes, all it takes is a glitch in the script. Number 1. The Titanic Prediction, by a guy named Robertson. A novel written over a decade before the Titanic sank. Described the disaster almost scene for scene. Not a news article. Not a technical report. Just a piece of fiction. In 1898, an American writer named Morgan Robertson published a novel called Futility. It told the story of a luxurious ocean liner named the Titan, about 800 feet long, traveling at nearly 25 knots, with 3 propellers, and labeled as unsinkable. And yet, it sinks. After hitting an iceberg in the North Atlantic in April, thousands die, partly because there weren't enough lifeboats. Sound familiar? The real Titanic was 882 feet long, traveled at 22.5 knots, had 3 propellers, was famously called unsinkable, and sank in April 1912 after hitting an iceberg on the starboard side, with far too few lifeboats on board. After the tragedy, people rediscovered futility and instantly dubbed Robertson a prophet. But the truth? It's probably much less mystical. Robertson wasn't psychic. He was a former sailor. He knew the shipping industry was cutting corners, building bigger, fancier ships, while quietly ignoring some pretty basic safety rules. He didn't predict the future. He just paid attention to the present, and wrote a story about it. The scariest part? The book's title was Futility, and nobody took the hint. Nobody took